Hi, thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to talk about a couple of the stories from the September-October Asimov's science fiction magazine that I enjoyed and want to tell you guys about. Before I talk about those, I want to talk about a couple stories from the July-August issue of Asimov's, which I did not talk about previously. I did not post up a video to talk about those, so I'll sort of throw those in here as well. Before I talk about those, I want to mention the fact that I'm up to 6 subscribers now, which is exciting for me. Thank you guys for subscribing, for sticking around. I really appreciate it. I do these videos, for myself, but also for you. I hope that you guys enjoy hearing about some of these stories. And as always, if you're intrigued by what I say, hopefully you'll check out the magazine for yourself and read some of the other ones, and hopefully you'll enjoy them as much as I did. So, for the July-August issue, there were a couple of stories that I wanted to talk about, wanted to bring to your attention. One is called Fragments from the Library of Cygnus X1 by Chris Wilrich. It's an exploration of various historical records from different worlds in different sorts of media. There was a migratory plant species on one world that leaves its record on fallen leaves that they leave behind as they migrate across the planet. Creatures on a Europa-like ice world create their records on a jellyfish-like plant that's frozen in the ice. There's a race that adds new information to its written record by scribbling increasingly tiny notes in the margins. Kind of a fun exploration of different ways that alien worlds could leave behind their historical records. Um, what was interesting to me about it was that it was followed in the magazine by a poem by Bruce Boston called The Ruined Library, which was about a library here on Earth, an earthbound library that had fallen into disrepair, that was full of books that are only attended to by rodents and insects. I thought there was a kind of a bittersweet contrast between the two, having the one right after the other. One of the novellas in this issue is called Waterlines by Suzanne Palmer. It involves a human off-world colony with a very, very tenuous relationship with the natives, which are a symbiotic race of biological and robotic creatures. They must unite with the human colonists when a group of xenophobic humans starts attacking the alien locals. Some really good action sequences and a topical story of intolerance. There's a third group, the Yetters, which were thought to be humanoids that the human colonists brought with them from somewhere else, but turns out that they were actually genetically modified humans that were basically being enslaved by the regular humans. So, as I said, a very, very topical story and very, very entertaining and enjoyable as well. As for the September-October issue, I want to start by talking about Robert Silverberg's Reflections column. He wrote a review of a book called The Purple Cloud by an author named Matthew Phipps Scheel. The book, The Purple Cloud, was published in 1901. It was a post-apocalyptic fantasy about the last man on Earth. He realizes he's the last man on Earth and kind of goes a little bit crazy over the next few years, as, one might. And then he meets a woman, the last woman on Earth. Silverberg says there are a lot of improbable happenings that are sort of hand-waved in the book for the service of the story. Where does he learn to pilot ships or drive trains? He's an MD, not a train engineer, but some of those details are sort of just casually considered not important because they don't really serve the purpose of the story, which is to tell the story of how this guy realizes he's the last man on Earth, kind of goes crazy, meets a woman, doesn't necessarily become less crazy. It actually sounded like a really fascinating book that I might be interested in checking out, and you might as well. Apparently, it's available as a Penguin Classic, so you can still purchase it today. In the Stillness Between the Stars was a novelette by Mercurio de Rivera. An astronaut aboard an interstellar flight is awakened from cryo to deal with another passenger who is having some nightmares. As he starts to see the monster that she says she's seeing, he starts to wonder if there's something else awake on the ship. Something sinister. Dum, dum, dum. This was a deliciously creepy story that actually had shades of Alien and another movie called Ghost Ship that I very much enjoyed. I thought it was perfect for their Halloween issue, September-October, Halloween issue. Another really good story was called Personal Space by Lawrence Watt Evans. Really great story about a young woman who has access to a sort of dimensional pocket that she uses as her own secret space and private space. She shows it to a male coworker of hers, and the first thing he does, because men are terrible, is try to monetize it. There's a great passage where she describes that she started using the pocket, her sort of space, as a way to hide from, people that were trying to assault her and beat her. And he never once expresses any sympathy about what her situation. Instead, he says, "Oh my God, do you realize how much money you could make off of this thing?" Because basically, people are terrible. Um, the sexual politics of this story were very apropos, and it was really a very engaging read. Had kind of a nice, I don't want to say twist ending, but like an ending that definitely felt justified. Let's put it that way. Um, Another really good story in here was called "At the Old Wooden Synagogue on Janauer Street." It was a very touching, retelling, which the author called "Variations on a Theme," of Ambrose Bierce's occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, which everybody had to read in high school. That's about uh, the soldier, the Southern soldier in the Civil War, who's about to be hanged at Owl Creek Bridge, and just as the chair is kicked out from under him, the rope on his noose breaks, and he falls in the river, and he escapes, and he runs through the woods, and he's being chased by the Union soldiers. And just as he gets home and he sees his wife, he snaps back to reality, and falls from the bridge and is executed. The whole thing was done as just a fantasy inside his head. Everybody had to read that story in high school, and this was a really well written and engaging retelling of that, basically involving a Jewish man, who sees his father, mother, and sister come into his deli in New York on a very hot day, and he's very surprised because he was absolutely sure that they were dead. And of course, if you've read Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, which everybody has, you kind of can see where this is going to end. But it was a very well written retelling of that story, and I enjoyed it very much. Um, so those were the stories from the September, October, and the July, August issue of Asimov's science fiction that I particularly enjoyed. I will try to get a video review of the September, October analog up, in relatively short order, for me. So as soon as I'm able to, I'll have that one up, and hopefully you will come and tune in for that one as well. So that's all I have. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye now.